Hi guys. In this video, I thought I would do a bit of a tour of the conceptual design for the Lake Cottage as it was a couple months ago when I presented it to the family. Um, before I did the main presentation to both families in my last video, I had presented to my friend's family's side a couple months before, and usually in those types of presentations, I typically just, instead of making like renderings and plans and stuff like that, I have a tendency to just fly around the 3D model because that's a lot more understandable for non-technical people. And even though like the model is incomplete, like there's no land, there's no terrain, it's still understandable as architecture. And especially for the client, they know the site, they know the landscape, so that's not a hard thing for them to imagine. But I thought I would kind of show a bit of the design and how I showed them the design in as a 3D model, Fly-thru. So the landscape is on a hill. The cottage is on a hill. So on the left here is uphill, and then there'll be kind of like a bit of a flat area for the cottage, and then a walkout basement. And then it keeps sloping down towards the lake, which is from the main living area level to the lake is like a 7-meter drop or so. So yeah, this is what the cottage looks like from the outside. The idea is that you have that there's vertical wood or cement board siding that makes the cottage blend into the landscape, while the entranceway is more of an intimate, warmer wood finish, and then there's slats to mediate the sun. Even though it's in a tall forest surrounded by trees, there's still slats to mediate the sunlight, especially in the winter when all of the birch trees and the maples lose their leaves. So this would be kind of the view from the driveway as you approach. It's just a gravel driveway. There's nothing special really about it. And then you come in screened in porches here on your right side. And then you go into a few steps up to elevate the main level above grade in the front door. And this is the first primary framed view of, once you come into the Japanese Genkin style entrance, you're greeted with this display area. Actually, I need to turn off these wood. Yeah, decided not to use the wood on the windows. On the left side is a bench. There we go. On the left side is a bench, and on the right side are some wardrobes for jackets and stuff. It's sized in a way that, like, when you come with groceries or you come as a group of like 4 or 5 people, it's not cramped or anything like that. There's enough space for people to sit down, take off their shoes, and the flooring is intentionally more of a cement tile so that it's easy to clean, and it's at a different level than the main living area here, so that you're physically taking a step up to reinforce that threshold of going from one space to another, and to differentiate between the semi-indoors and the indoors, and to keep the dirt from tracking into the rest of the house. So this is kind of like a Japanese tokoma display area, and then there's some windows, and then as you turn into the main area, you get your second primary frame view, which is into the living space. And I'm missing some stuff here. Missing the guardrail. Where did the guardrail go? There we go. Main living space, and then out to the view of the lake. So you take a few steps up, and then you're in the main living area, and you're looking over the stairwell towards the lake. On your right side is the kitchen area, with the bar seating that are stepped down, the dining room, and the screened-in porch beyond. And then towards your left side is the 2 rooms, the grandma's bedroom/study, and then the away room. And up above you have this large emptiness, this openness that is mediated by the sunlight filtering through these slats in the komorebi intention theme, in a nice large exposed wood roof system, intentionally made to give that sense of openness and emptiness, where the inhabitation is through the presence of nothingness, as well as creating that larger space that stretches up to the sun and where the trees are. As we go, the fireplace is on the left here. I think that's been moved. I've been kind of playing around with the location of it because it's not really in a great place right now. A shower bathroom, shower upstairs, bathroom with a bath downstairs. So the shower is intended to be more accessible, easier to use, especially for the elderly, while the bathtub downstairs is if there's ever grandkids and little kids. If you go into the away room, you have the futon, and you have the kind of TV. And I tried to put in a lot of desks, because I was talking with the family about the possibility of working from home, of working remotely at the cottage, and so having some small desks for people to work at, I added those in. And then I'll just go down here to the other away room, and this room I was quite happy with how this room turned out, in the sense of having this kind of corner window and this large desk that would look out towards the lake. Because it's quite a forested site, this bedroom would have quite a good view of the lake without having to cut down any trees, and so I put some emphasis on getting those large windows, those large openings, so that the view would be quite nice, and then to capture that view. And then back in the living room, and you can see how the space is intentionally quite open, and has the sense of modern wood. So we'll just take a walk up here, and then we'll go up the stairs to the loft. So I put these stairs in a way that it's not immediately obvious from the main entrance where to go up, but with a bit of exploration it becomes quite apparent that to get to the loft is right here. And so you go up the stairs to the little landing, and there's a nice little reading nook and a shelf for display and books. And then you turn the corner, and then there's this sense of being up in the trees. So the loft is really intended to be, because it is also closer to the roof and these slats, the intention is that there's a sense of being up in the trees, up in the canopy of the trees, and really a strong emphasis on the komorebi filtering of light. My architecture is quite influenced by Japanese architecture, both traditional and modern, and so I've been playing around with shoji screens as screening elements over the windows. since this is a cottage in the forest, there's not really a need for privacy towards your neighbors. Like the next neighbor's cottage, you can barely even see through the forest. Like it's far enough away, and there's enough trees and all that. Um, but there's a sometimes I mean in the walkout basements, there's definitely a need of privacy if you're like changing, or like curtains for like if you like to sleep in or whatnot. But the nice thing about shoji screens like this is that it makes the windows look twice as big as they are. So behind these shoji screens is just the wall. So when the shoji screen is open like this, when the window and you can see out the window, it makes it look like the window is twice as big as it is. And then when you slide the shoji screen over the window, then of course you block out some of the light and maintain the privacy. But in the open position, it's quite nice that they make without having to do anything on the inside. It makes it look twice as big as it is, the window. And then from here you can look down, and there's that visual connection to the occupation and the activities of what's happening down in the main living room and the dining and kitchen area. And so this was a space that because the design had a 30-degree slope on the roof, and was creating a double high space in the living and dining room. This loft there was nothing added to the volume of the cottage to create the loft. It was like an extra that happened to fall into place that I had wanted from the beginning, but hadn't been able to figure out how to get it in exactly. But I realized, hey, I have this extra space above these two rooms, the away room and the bedroom study, and I could quite easily, with a little bit, with the stair, just extending a bit of the building to make the staircase, I could quite easily get a well-functioning, well-placed loft in. So we go down, and I will just quickly go to the screened-in porch. There's another framed view here through this doorway into the screened porch and beyond. And beyond would be really just forest on the south side, kind of wrapping around with a bit of a view towards the lake. But in the screened-in porch, the intention is it's the outdoor living room, and so it feels really it's the living outside concept where like with the glass windows open, bug screens, you could use it throughout the shoulder seasons. And then you can imagine there would be a view down to the lake. But yeah, the screening, the vertical screen, the slats, vertical screening slats are quite important for reducing the glare and overheating of the spaces. And again, you can see the flagstone-esque flooring, which is related to the Canadian Shield of the Muskoka region where the cottage is. And then so going downstairs, again, these vertical railings reflect what's happening up above in the roof system. And as you go down, you get into the bedroom area. This is kind of like maybe a bit of another sitting lounge area, where from the doorway outside, you have a more durable material for people tracking in dirt, and a cubby shelf, a coat rack system for like leaving your towels as you go down to the beach, or like your flip-flops kind of as you go down to the lake. The kind of room of sitting, extra places to sleep if you have guests. And then this is the larger bedroom, again with a place to do some work. And the door is out to. It was requested that the bedrooms have sliding doors out to the patio. So another patio at the walkout basement level. Both of the front rooms have that. And then the back room. I've been looking at low-cost ways of making nicer interior finishes. So as well, so like to get away from the living in a sterile white gypsum walls and ceiling, living in a box. I've been looking at painting the walls with a bit of a beige, and then on the roof using a very thin Baltic birch plywood with thin wood strips, and that's kind of bringing that traditional Japanese towards contemporary aspect of design into the project. And then closet for storage of vacuum cleaner and linens, separate bath on one side, so it's not impacting the shower if someone's having a shower. And then so this is kind of a wet bath setup where you can close this door for changing, and you have a bit of a change room that also functions as with the vanity and the laundry room. So it's a dual purpose change room in a sense, and then an entirely wet bath where you have basically this is typical in Japan of having an entirely wet bath where you can shower standing up, and then there's also a bathtub on the side if you want to soak and relax. And yeah. And then so we'll just go outside, and because at the time of this design, I hadn't been to the site yet, and so I didn't really understand how the grades worked and what I wanted to get out of the exterior design, but it was requested to have a patio at the lower level as well, and so I've been working on thinking about how that materializes. So from here, this is kind of the lakeside elevation of the cottage, where you have the main living room with very tall glazing, and then the walkout basement with a stone finish, more of a stone finish to relate to ground it into the landscape, and then the screened-in porch at this end. So since this concept was conceived, I have visited the site, and I've also gone through a few more design exercises. So there's been a few changes to the design so far, but I thought it'd be nice to show kind of what the initial concept was, and then so in later videos you can see how it evolved and how it changed based on other factors like the landscape, cost, and different priorities from the family and myself as well. And so yeah, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. One more thing, if you're still sticking around, I forgot to mention that I put a lot of thought into how time is perceived throughout the day and throughout the seasons. And so I thought it'd be nice to show you kind of, this is a summer day from early morning how even there's no trees in this rendering, but how the quality of the light comes in. So in the early morning, you get this very horizontal light that's quite soft and warm. And as you go through the day, as the day progresses, you get this beautiful illumination of the wood inside of the, and then a passage of time is shot along these wood slats and the walls, and so you can perceive how time changes throughout the day and the seasons, as each day will be a slightly different angle of the sun. And so these slats work to partially mediate out the glare. There'd be also quite a lot of trees that would help with that as well. But as you go through the day, you really see a stronger lighting on the walls towards the beginning and end of the day, and it's softer when it's straight overhead because of the angle and the spacing of those slats. And then at the end of the day, it has one last flash of light along the wood beams, and then disappears for the night. At which point the lighting, there's an intention to have lighting that makes this volume of wood slats, this volume of emptiness glow. So there'll be lighting that goes up and down and along the sides of these beams and stuff too. But yeah, that was kind of one thing I forgot to show, and so I'll just do it one more time. You can see from kind of here how there's I'm particularly fond of how it lights up the beams, the roof beams here, and the walls. You get those nice streaks, and then it flashes across and then towards the other side.